Hi everyone, and welcome to another Chrysalis on the Couch. I'm Joanna Williams, and I'm pleased to say that I'm joined today by Lin DeBarr and Emily Hopper and Catherine Jones. And today we're going to be talking about the broad subject of working from home. So the perils and pitfalls, and also the advantages and any funny stories we've had during this time of working from home. So I'd really like to ask you guys to introduce yourselves. As I say, I'm Joanna. I'm a tutor for Chrysalis, among other roles. I'm a therapist as well. And let's go to Lynn first, please.
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm an alumna of Chrysalis Hypnotherapy and Counselling Skills, and I have now started my private practice in St. Lawrence Bay.
Brilliant, thank you. When did you qualify, Lynn?
Just a month ago, actually.
Oh, amazing! Congratulations.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So early days for practice, but really exciting time. That's brilliant to hear. Good stuff. Emily, some people watching this may have already met you or know of you, but tell us a bit about you.
Yes, so my name's Emily Hopper and I work for Chrysalis. So I'm currently the Student Placement and Engagement Manager. So I'm based down in the offices down in sunny Bridgewater.
Lovely, thank you. And Catherine?
So I'm a tutor for Chrysalis. I'm based in Southampton. So I have 2 classes down there. I also have my own clinical practice and I'm a teacher as well. So I teach counselling and psychotherapy for a BSc course.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. We all wear lots of hats, don't we, quite often in this world, and lots of different jobs. So
we do. It's like stepping stones, I think, yeah, lots of opportunities as well. Absolutely,
yeah, definitely. And things sort of come up, don't they, over time, when you end up doing all sorts of things that you maybe didn't plan. I'm fairly sure that's the subject of a previous Chrysalis on the Couch we did, actually, about portfolio careers and so on. So
yeah,
to look that one up. So yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can like and subscribe to this channel and watch other episodes as well. So hopefully you'll enjoy those, and I'll try and give you a reminder to do that at the end. And also, if you want to write something in the comments, we're always happy to see your comments, and maybe you've got something to add to the discussion we're going to have today. So welcome, Catherine, Emily and Lynn. Thanks so much for joining me and making the time. I really wanted to chat about this subject. Working from home is quite close to my heart. I've basically always worked from home, so it hasn't been a new thing for me. But I feel like there is a cultural shift. There's something happening in the zeitgeist about our ways of working because of the pandemic. And even, strangely enough, even yesterday, there was something on the BBC News about it that I was reading just before I went to bed last night. So it's a very current topic. I'm really interested in what your experiences are. So we're in different situations here, aren't we? We've got Emily, who works in the office, but presumably has spent some time working at home. We've got Lynn, who's been studying, and we know with Chrysalis, it's very much self-directed study anyway, but your study experience may have been different, and you're setting up now in therapeutic practice. And Catherine, of course, teaching and practicing from home as well. So let's go in reverse order this time, and maybe if I can go to you, Catherine, like what do you think are the good things about working from home? Let's start with the positives.
Oh, I think there's a lot of positives. So I've been working home for years actually, since I had my 2 children, and I think it just gives you so much flexibility. Nobody really knows where you are, as long as you actually provide the service, with regards to whatever you're doing. You could actually, be anywhere, although obviously home would be the base, and then, so you can design your own day, I think, more so.
Yeah, I think so. And you mentioned, obviously, having children. Was that part of your decision to have a career from home, to be more flexible for the children as well?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, when you're both of you can't be doing it if you've got children, I think, to have that balance. So I was in the financial services industry, actually. And so, I started my own business after I had my 2 children, and that was purely from home, and then it's just gone from there really. I can't see, once you have that freedom and that flexibility, and you can do the washing as well as sort of like doing the professional side of things, you know, it's very difficult to go back. I think
it is. Everybody always pushes doing the washing. It's funny, isn't it? Because I always say that, I can always put a wash on. Seems to be really important to be able to do that during the day. I don't know how people who work in offices 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, have time to do that stuff.
No. So it allows, it gives you more time and freedom at the weekends as well, because you can get things done, as long as obviously you fulfill all the commitments. But I really enjoy it.
Yeah, me too. It's I think that flexibility, like you say, would be hard to give up. I only worked in an office very briefly, and it was part-time, 3 days a week a couple of years ago when I worked for a charity, and I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed the social side, but it was quite an old-fashioned culture, and it was very rigid, 9 to 5, you know, clock in, clock out, and very great suspicion. People who worked from home even for an hour were viewed with great suspicion, and that wasn't a culture I'd been used to. So
and I guess the culture has changed, hasn't it, as you said, since COVID. Now it's becoming more of a norm anyway, I think, because of what's happened. I think, you know, industry is going to change. There's going to be more people working from home.
Yeah, I think it's going to have to. It's going to be interesting. I think that's what the article was about that I was reading last night. So yeah, thank you. Emily, you're back to the office. You've gone back to the office recently, is that right? But you've been working at home. How's that been?
Yeah, so we're in sort of a transition period here at Chrysalis in the offices at the moment. So we're staggering coming back into the office full time. So I'd say for the last 18 months, really, 18 months, we've been at home. The whole team has been working from home, which to begin with was a bit of a novelty, because we have 2 big offices here in Bridgewater, and we're very close knit. So we've got the student team and the sales team. And at the time, back in March last year, I was heavily involved with the student team, acting as team leader. So it was really bizarre to go from having my team all around me and being able to chat all day long and help each other as and when we needed, to then going to being completely by yourself. So that was a bit bizarre to begin with, and it had a bit of a novelty to it as well. And a few weeks in, that novelty started to wear off. But what I would say is that it did mean that we were doing, within the team, we were having so many check-ins with each other. And throughout the day, we would be Zooming or messaging or WhatsApping, and just really going out of our way to make sure that we've still got that cohesion and that feeling of working within a team. And I think that sometimes if you see someone every day, you might forget to ask, how are you? How are you feeling? But being able to go out of your way and do that this year, I think it's been quite nice. You do have that connection still, but it's different.
That's really interesting. Thank you.
So it's been a weird one. And now that we're transitioning back, it's so lovely to see everyone again.
See the actual physical people.
Yes. Yeah. They're not just a picture on a screen anymore. So yeah.
Oh, there's pros and cons to both, aren't there? But I guess, will there be any moves in which you can tell us, but is there a move for people to work more flexibly and maybe work a little bit at home and a little bit in the office? Is that starting to happen, do you think?
Yes, definitely. I mean, because we have people who work for Chrysalis all around the country doing different jobs, have different positions. We've got our tutors, obviously, who are in different locations. We are trying to make sure that we have at least one day a week where we are at home, so that we can have that check-in with everyone, that big team meeting. And in that regard, it's made us closer with the people who aren't in Bridgewater. So yeah, it's swings and roundabouts, I think. But it's been a very bizarre 18 months.
Real change, absolutely, yeah. Really
Yeah.
interesting.
I think initially when we all went on Zoom and online, it felt really uncomfortable for me. It felt really unnatural. But actually, as we've gone on, I think it's more natural.
Yeah.
It's
You get used to it.
to communicate online, and yeah.
You do, don't you? And I think if the technology's fit for purpose, which fingers crossed might be tempting fate here for today, broadly speaking, you know, things do hopefully go smoothly, which helps.
And also, I guess it's the traffic as well, isn't it?
So much easier.
Mm.
Yeah, so much easier not having to commute, right? Massive advantage. Lynn, how have you found working online, particularly in your practice? What have you found that to be like?
I find it a lovely intimate space. I find that people really relax well when they're at home. You know, taking into account that they've put the dog away and they've turned off the phone and everything is just so for the session. I actually find they really relax because they're in a familiar environment.
Yeah.
They're in a comfortable chair or sat on a sofa that they enjoy sitting on. If they want to have a blanket, you know, when it was colder, have a little blanket for comfort and safety. They can do that. They can have their favorite mug. Yeah. I'm actually slightly worried how I will see people here. Will it be the same? You know, will they be slightly more stiff, take a little bit longer to relax? Because I have some clients that say to me, you know, the moment I'm starting to see clients in person, they would really like to come and see me, as we've only done work on Zoom. I'm actually slightly apprehensive about that because I'm so used to relating to them on screen now, and obviously doing my 60 odd counseling hours only on Zoom this whole period of study that I did. Wow, yeah. I'm so used to that now. I'm not sure I'm going to translate into person to person.
That's an interesting thing that you've just raised, because that is the debate. I think that psychological contact, can that really be achieved by Zoom? It sounds as though you've managed to do that really well.
I think because my family and friends, obviously they live all over the world, and I'm so used to, you know, having time with them on Zoom, even before this whole coronavirus. So I'm really used to it. I feel really comfortable. Even though I have to admit today I'm slightly nervous because this is a slightly different scenario for me. But yeah, I'm actually really comfortable, especially, you know, doing hypnotherapy as well, hypnosis. I've never had any problems, you know, with hypnosis. I think a lot of people feel slightly daunted by that, but I don't.
Yeah. And I wonder, Lynn, if it's because you feel so comfortable with it, you know, that must come across, mustn't it, to the people that you're working with? They must feel that from you, and that helps them to feel more comfortable, I guess.
I think I just make really sure to always tell them, if you don't hear my voice within 3 minutes, if for whatever reason we get cut off, you will just wake up and feel refreshed, etc., etc. Just if they have a little bit of a niggling worry in the background, and it has happened, you know, that we were cut off mid-session. And I just get back, you know, we just can't redirect them. It just cuts off. So you get back and it's all fine. Never had really any issues with that.
Yeah. No, same. It's happened to me as well. And I think you mentioned that thing about being apprehensive about hypnotherapy on Zoom. And I certainly, prior to this period, I had a few counselling clients that I saw via webcam, but I'd never, I sort of deliberately never practiced hypnotherapy over webcam because I didn't really, I don't know, I suppose I just had worries about how well that would work, not being in the room. And I've been astonished how well it's worked, I must admit. And I think, and like you, in a way, I'm a bit apprehensive about going back to face in some ways, although I expect I will. But the hypnotherapy thing about being cut off, that's happened a couple of times to me as well. And the first time it happened, I was a little bit like, oh, cripes, you know. And it was just at the moment where I said, you won't hear my voice for a few moments as I leave you in your special place. And then it just got off and I thought, oh, it might be a while. And he was really, really deep in hypnosis as well. So I just thought, oh, what's going to happen? But as you say, as long as you talk about that in advance and he knows that he's safe and he's just going to wake up naturally, and that was all fine. But have you had the experience though where you can't sort of rouse them at the end? Because that's the other thing that I've found difficult online. Once or twice I've had clients who've been really deep in hypnosis and they've not come around very easily when I've carried them back up. That's quite tricky when you're not in the room.
In a sense, yes, I have experienced that, but I've always also had a few people go, I didn't want to come back. I wanted to stay in my special place, which is so lovely there. And this is not student practice, these are clients. Whereas with the students, they normally come back fairly quickly.
Yeah.
I found, with the clients, I don't want to come back.
Yeah.
And there's lots of yawning and stretching afterwards. And
yeah.
No, I didn't have any special problems with bringing them back.
Yeah, no, it's. I think that had been my concern, but it has only happened once or twice with the same person. But eventually, it was fine. He did wake up eventually, but I was a bit like, oh, okay. I just started speaking a bit more loudly and and all of that. So I guess it's just different because in the room you might feel more comfortable in that situation, whereas you feel a bit remote, obviously. We were talking as well just before we started recording, actually, weren't we, about other people's perceptions of working from home and whether that's changed. Is there still a negative perception? Because it sounds like we're all quite productive. We're getting a good job done at home. Emily's was connecting well with her team, and we're also sort of seeing clients and teaching and so on. And I think I'll come back to you, Lynn, if that's all right, because you raised it. Do other people sort of not really take it seriously and appreciate that you're working? Is that a problem?
Yes, like I said, I've had, I shall not name names, neighbours, lovely neighbours, and they really want to speak to me about something, and they'll knock and ring the bell because my car is out front, so therefore I am home while I'm in a session.
Yeah.
It's like they don't really take it seriously. Oh, but you're home, I just wanted to say something, and I'm really in a session or just about to go into a session. So I think, people still don't think you're really seriously busy when you work from home, as opposed to sat in an office somewhere in a city or in a town.
Yeah, it's funny that, isn't it? I wonder why that idea persists, that you're somehow more available because you're at home than you would be if you were, as you say, sitting in an office. Emily, you've experienced both. So do people treat you differently when you've been working at home or in the office, do you think?
It's actually really funny because personally, I find myself more productive when I'm in the office, just because you've taken yourself out of your relaxing space and you've walked or driven to work, and that's where you are, and you've got your 2 computer screens, and it's not your tiny laptop, and you're there to work. But obviously when I'm at home, I'm working very, very hard as well.
Obviously.
Yeah. But the other person in my house who works from home, he will sit down in front of the TV and watch Homes Under the Hammer and Escape to the Country, and he's got his laptop here, and and I can understand that for some people in some jobs they do have that, there is that bit of flexibility, if that's the right word, where it is seen as maybe a bit of a chill out time from the hustle and bustle of being in the office. But I think it's what you make of it. So to have my desk at home and know that that's my working time, and on my lunch break I'll go off and do the things I need, and I'm there at my desk until 5, that's what works for me. But for other people, I think that, they just see that maybe you're at home rolling out of bed at 5 to 9 and sitting in your pyjamas watching Homes Under the Hammer.
I have done the sitting in the pyjamas thing.
Yeah.
Some days, especially when my son wasn't at school, I did do that some days, and that's hands up.
As long as your business from here up, yeah.
The path was smart, but yeah, still that perception. No, that's interesting. And you mentioned that about like having, I suppose we all find our own way with it, but having like your own boundaries really helped you. I've been those times of day and those routines, I guess, that are a bit like being in the office. And
so for me, a big part of my day before COVID was my walk home from work, because that was my chill down time. And that was me going from work and thinking about this student and this, what's going on here and how can I fix this and what do I do here, to then having that time to de-stress from that, come home and enjoy my evening. And that was lost working from home, because it's blurred lines then. What's work time, what's home time, and how do you switch off?
Yeah, I'm really curious to explore that actually, Emily, because that, as I say, I've pretty much worked from home my entire working life, and I'm in my mid-40s now, so bar about 18 months of going into an office regularly, I've had a job that's either been home-based or field-based with occasional forays into the office, or I've worked for myself from home. So I'm really interested in this idea of how do we keep proper boundaries, how do we keep that balance, and I'm wondering if it's a downside. So to go back to you, Catherine, for instance, when we're talking about we can get some of the maybe the domestic things done, or we can be flexible with our time. Is there a downside to that in terms of other people's expectations of us, maybe? That we're maybe more open to fitting other things in because we're just working from home?
I think it depends on how you present it. If you present it in a very professional way, then no. If you're saying, if you communicate to say, actually, other than what you're actually focusing on in terms of the work, and you talk about sort of the social side of what you're going to do, then that blurs it. So, you know what I mean? So if you just keep a professional image and profile to whoever it is that you're working for, then it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, for me, time is of the essence, I think. So rather than spend an hour, on the roads, you can be doing the washing and you can be going to the gym. But yeah, I agree with what Emily said. There is this, how do you escape from work and then have that downtime? And I think that again it just has to be quite structured. You have to be quite motivated. Think, right, I'm shutting off at 5 and I'm going to go for a walk. Or, you could do that. But it's still not the same, is it? I agree.
Not quite. No, I don't think it is quite. I've heard people say like they miss their reading time on the commute, for instance. They used to read on the tube and then they're not reading so much, which is interesting. So there's little things, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe that is an issue whereby, you don't relax because you're so, you have to be quite motivated. And so you don't have that time to relax to and from work.
Yeah, isn't it? I do think going out for a walk is probably a good tip, as you said. You mentioned there about like when I was asking people's expectations, I was thinking about friends and family as well, not just our employers and our colleagues. So if I go right back to sort of my 20s and my first job in sales, which I'd be out and about a lot of the time, and then I'd have maybe one admin day a week, which is working from home, and I would certainly have friends and family be like, oh, you're working from, or even a friend who said, well, you're off today, aren't you? So you can do this, that. Then I'd be like, no, I'm not off. If you had any idea the amount of work I've got to do today, in fact, I'd probably still be working into the evening, talking about poor boundaries in those days. And so, yeah, I wonder if any of us have experienced that, where sort of socially, especially perhaps during lockdown, where everybody's lives have been a bit different, there's been a sort of, oh, can you meet for a walk? Can we go for a coffee? And you're like, no, I have a job. Does anybody experience that?
Yeah. I think
I've been able to fit it better. So yes, I can go for that walk, but that's going to be my lunch break, and then I'm going to. So you can. That's that flexibility, like you were saying before, Catherine. Like you can mould your day a bit better because those boundaries aren't in place.
Absolutely, but I think it's also that then it's the perception of others, as you say. Just because you're working at home, it is maybe assumed from others that you do have that huge amounts of flexibility, but actually you don't. Really. Do you?
I have a question actually to all of you. How do you find the rapport building process with clients online as opposed to in person? Or in your case with students? Or
yeah, really good question. Catherine, do you want to answer first, and then I'll.
How do I find the rapport online between when I'm teaching and between my students? I find it really good. Actually, I mean, I don't think they're getting the experience fully from the impact of other peers on themselves, and so that's a little bit disappointing. But actually, with practice, you can get quite a good collaboration and engagement and interest in the subject. And obviously you've got breakout rooms as well, so you can actually split groups into smaller groups. And I don't find a problem with it, but I just think that the student is missing out because there's nothing like that psychological contact.
Room together.
that interaction.
Yeah, I would say similar. I think I've definitely noticed a difference. I think where we had, and it goes for clients too, actually, Lynn, to your point, I think where you've met somebody already and then you sort of you've had to move the relationship online, that's a different experience, isn't it, than having to build it from scratch. Yes. So a class that I already knew that we moved online, that sort of felt a little bit easier than starting with a whole new, especially in year one, because I teach year one and they tend to be quite big groups. So one of my groups is sort of 22 students. And to build that and to feel that as a tutor, you're sort of managing to make a relationship with each of those people is more tricky online, I think, when you haven't met them before. I would say it's coming, it's definitely coming, and it is good, and there's lots of other ways you can do that, but it's been slower, I think, than if we'd met in a room, because I think, to your point, Catherine, that psychological contact is key. And client wise, again, I've moved a couple of clients online, and then practically all of my clients now I've never met them in person, my current clients, and it actually sort of works. It's worked okay though. I feel I'm perhaps getting better at it with practice as well, in terms of how you build that rapport. It's a sort of intense experience, isn't it? A different intensity, I think, working on a webcam than it is.
I think there's more intensity, because you've got to keep that therapeutic relationship, haven't you? And hold it. And, there is that, issue whereby, what if they go somewhere and then it's unsafe for them, and then of course you can't, it's all that really, I think.
Yeah, it raises all sorts of things about sort of safety and and like I say, holding that space. I think that can be difficult, but it is quite an intense setting, as you say. And I think what I find as well is that you sometimes sort of end up really staring at each other in a way, and with teaching too, you're sort of really on it all the time, on a screen somehow, in a way that you wouldn't be in a room. You would move, you would look around more naturally. So that's been interesting, I think.
And I would imagine as well, to be teaching for the day, or for like a long time slot, the Zoom fatigue that you'd get from that compared to being in a classroom, maybe. Do you find that that's a thing?
It's well, I don't know, Catherine. I find it more tiring, I think.
Because there has to be more focus in terms of maintaining that engagement. So are you doing most of the work? It depends on how you've actually tailored the day, but I'm very conscious of that they enjoy their experience, more so online, obviously, face to face as well, but you do most of, there is that responsibility and that expectation, I think, to hold it more.
I think so, I think breakout rooms have been a gift, haven't they, to be able to let people go off in as close a replica as you can get to being in a room where you would do that, where you'd break people off, and it gives you a bit of a breather as a tutor, although you are going in and working with them, you've got that little bit of, okay, right, I'm sort of, as you would have in the classroom, you have those little moments, those little down moments.
Yeah, but I think it is the IT on top of everything else, isn't it? That's the issue.
Yes, yes.
Like you said earlier, you know, you were seeing a client with doing hypnosis. And then that is just the worry, that is everything going to go smoothly as well as everything else?
Yeah, it's in the back of your mind, isn't it? And I delivered a webinar a few just before Christmas, actually, for a charity I do some work with, and they record these webinars for their volunteers, and I think it was about anxiety as well. And I think I was talking about technology and things, and then it just literally cut out in the middle, and it was all being recorded, and I was like, and I came back, and in the chat, it reconnected me in the chat. Everyone was going, "Where is she? Is she gone? Is she okay?" And I was like, "I'm so sorry," but you know, we sort of got over it. But again, like I say, it's in the back of your mind, so that adds an extra kind of level of tiredness and tension.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah. And then I'd imagine for Lynn as well, when you're a student, not only are you taking on all of that information and learning, but the Zoom fatigue on top of that as well. That must.
Absolutely. And I found myself being sort of okay most of the time, but I saw some of my fellow students really started to wilt about midday.
Yeah.
About 1 o'clock or so, and they still had to go until 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock sometimes in the afternoon. You could just see these people are physically so tired. Often there's childcare issues involved because it's lively young children. So the dad had to take out these children somewhere, you know, and initially they couldn't take them to family members, so they had to stay outside somewhere or do something. And you could see these students were worried about that, especially if it's smaller children. You know, a little toddler being out for hours at a time, they get tired, they get grumpy. So yeah, there was a lot of rearranging of lives around the whole student experience this past, however, 18 months.
Yeah.
But I also think we learned absolutely invaluable skills that the years before ourselves never had the opportunity to learn. I see it as a positive. I mean, we have to take something positive out of this whole COVID experience. And for me, is yes, we obviously, I think, developed in different levels, and it's been a good learning curve, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I mean, from my experience of what my students have said is that, you know, they've never thought about being sort of, you know, effective with IT themselves. So, yeah, I think it has been such a development opportunity.
I think, yeah, the world of therapy is potentially moving more online. You know, that's probably was a trend anyway, to more online services. It's probably not a bad thing for us to get more savvy with these technologies. So it's sort of forced us to do that maybe more quickly than we would have done. As long as, well, obviously, as she says, no substitute for that face-to-face support either. So I guess going forward, maybe it'll be a bit of both. I'm curious, before we start to wrap up, because I don't want to keep you too long today, if anybody's got any, there must be some, and if you feel willing to share any disasters, any funny stories, anything that's happened while you've been working from home that you've just thought, oh, no way, like, get me out of here kind of scenario. Somebody must have something that they're okay to share that maybe people watching will relate to as well. Lynn, you were smiling, so you must have a good story.
Yes. When I'm home alone, I tend to leave open the practice door because it's only me up here upstairs, and I've got these two really big, fat, hairy ragdoll cats. And how would you say the Zoom bombed? I've been Zoom bombed. Or little nose going up there, and me desperately, you know, in the counselling skills session of my session, trying to just excuse me for a moment, and this cat really digging into the desk, and me trying to pull this cat and get it out the door. Eventually getting the cat out, and then it's hammering on the door. Let me in. Now I put them downstairs and I close some doors to really keep them away because they're very vocal and they're very interactive.
Do you know what? It's almost always cats, isn't it? Cats have just loved this. I think they love having us at home, even though they pretend not to like us. And oh my goodness, I recorded, you know, the lectures that we've recorded for Chrysalis. and I did a lot of the year one ones sort of last spring, and so you'd record that, and obviously once you've set it to record, you want it to go right because it's an hour long lecture or whatever. And there was one, and I'd forgotten to shut the door. You have to shut the doors, don't you, and shut the cats out. And I got really near the end, and the cat came into the room. I thought, it's fine. She sort of jumped on the table. She was getting a bit close, so I was like this, trying to be off camera, trying to sort of gently push her off. I could see this tail. And I kept thinking, well, if it's a little bit of a tail, maybe I'll get away with that. And then she did the classic cat thing and just walked across and put her bottom right in front of the cat. I was just like, okay, that's an hour's work out the window, isn't it? There's nothing I can do about that. Thank you very much. And then she just walked off again, left the room. I thought, great, re-record. And you know, when you go, that was probably the best lecture I've done as well. That was really good recording up to that point. I'll never get it as good as that. Oh. So yeah, and I have a colleague as well who, with a client, and that they have the reverse problem in that the client's cat tends to get involved in the sessions as well. So it's always cats. And it's really hard to kind of keep your, keep that therapeutic bond when there's a cat appearing on the screen. What do we do? What about you guys, Emily? Is anything embarrassing or awkward or annoying?
Yes, so in my household, the big day out of the whole year is Eurovision Day, and we are huge Eurovision fans. And when it comes to the week leading up to Eurovision, we start to decorate the house ready for the Saturday night. Yeah. And when I say decorate the house, I mean tack, glitter, everything, as camp as you can imagine. The house is, and we'd started to decorate, and there's all the flags of all the different countries stuck on the wall, and glitter curtains, and I'd completely forgotten that was all going on behind me. Signed in for this really, professional Zoom chat, and all they've got is all of this. I thought, well, what do I say here? So I just had to say, I'm really sorry, it's Eurovision this weekend.
Nil point.
Yeah, nil point, exactly, yeah.
Oh, anyone could understand that for sure.
Yeah, well, yes. And, yeah.
By the way, Germany were robbed, in my opinion. But
really,
I loved this. It was a real Marmite choice, wasn't it? But
well, they did better than us. So.
Well, take much of it. It's a hoot. I'm coming to your house for Eurovision next year.
Oh yeah, come round. Everyone's welcome. Yeah.
Really good. But yeah, see, we have to be so careful with our backgrounds, don't we? It could be all sorts going on, glitter and not great for a serious meeting. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job. He had a good sense of humour there.
Yeah, and it's like the name on the screen and the background, all of those things we just need to sort of double check, don't we? But fantastic. Catherine, has anything happened to you that's been regrettable in the course of booking?
To be honest, no.
Oh, you're so good.
But I think that I can comment on what's been said. I think it's we're all human, and it's nice to be genuine. I mean, these things happen, don't they? And I think it actually helps whoever you're talking to as well.
Yeah, I think it does actually. And because I reflected on this with client work, because I've never practiced from home. I've always gone out and had practice rooms that I've hired, partly because I don't have the setup here, but partly because I've always wanted to keep a bit of although I've always done other work from home, my practice I've always wanted to keep a little bit outside. And even just being on a Zoom and just letting your clients see a little square of your home still feels, sort of intimate in some way, doesn't it? And so that's been something I've been reflecting on recently, and the way that we see into our clients' homes as well. And it changes things, doesn't it, a little bit? But I think that if something like that does happen, it does just add to, we are human, aren't we? And it happens with tutors and students as well. And it's okay to say, okay, something's happened, or the cat walked across the screen again, or I think it's sort of all right. Maybe it's added something and broken down some barriers in some ways between us. Which has got to be good, I think. So I think if we were to take a vote on whether working from home was a good thing or a bad thing, our general consensus seems to be
good.
Yeah, pretty good. I think seems to be the way forward.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I don't know. It is good also, I think, to have a balance, that blended approach that Emily, it sounds as though you've got.
Yeah.
You know, a day here and a day there.
Yeah.
A bit of this and a bit of that.
Yeah. I think with everything, variety, isn't it? A bit of variety and being able, the flexibility, go back to the point you made right at the start, Catherine, the flexibility, I think, to do either is really good, isn't it? It gives you that choice.
It does. Yeah.
I must admit, I am really, the few times I have met people in person over the last few weeks, it's been really lovely. So I am looking forward to doing more of that. But aren't we lucky that we've got this technology that we can do this and meet each other in this way? So
absolutely.
Oh, it's been so great chatting to you all today. Thank you. I'm going to wrap up and let you all get on with your day. I want to thank everybody for watching this video as well, and to remind you again to like and subscribe so that you can see more of these videos and get involved, because we've got a really wide range of Chrysalis on the couch now with all sorts of topics. So go and take a look and you'll get to know Chrysalis students, alumni, tutors, staff. So it's a really nice way to find out a bit more about us as well. Take care, everybody, and yeah, hopefully I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.